My name is Chloe and I live in Chicago. My family is originally from Seattle, but my dad moved here years ago. I have two brothers and one sister. Let's just get to the story. I just finished college and a friend threw a huge party at a cabin near the Wisconsin border. I had my own car. Another friend called me. Her car had broken down, so she asked if I could pick her up. I said sure, no problem. The party was in the evening. So I left my house around then. To get there, you have to take this old state highway, I won't say which one, that's supposedly super haunted. Everyone knows the creepy stories about it. My friends and I were a younger crowd, so we usually brushed that stuff off. I used to just laugh it off. I never thought something so terrifying could actually happen to me. It messed me up for a long time. Even now, telling you this, I get chills. So we got to the party. It was a blast. We totally lost track of time. And next thing I knew, it was almost midnight. My mom called worried. I told her I was heading home. My friend said I should just stay over, but I insisted I was fine to drive. I said my goodbyes and left. I was driving on that same haunted highway. It was drizzling. I dropped my friend off at her place in a nearby suburb, which took me a little off the main road. When I got back on the highway, my heart started pounding. I figured it was just the creepy weather. It was past midnight and this road was completely deserted. Not a single other car. I'd never felt fear like that before. The rain picked up and then my car just died. It was a brand new car and I had a full tank of gas. So it made no sense. I tried to start it again and again. Nothing. I was too scared to call home because I was already so late and didn't want to get in trouble. I was totally stranded. I locked the doors and rolled up the windows. There were just thick woods on either side of the road. The atmosphere was unbearable. I felt like something was about to jump out at me. I pulled out my phone to book an Uber. The app showed one car nearby, but it wasn't moving. I watched it on the map for a minute, but it just stayed in the same spot. I tried calling the driver. It rang, but no one answered. I kept saying, hello, hello, but there was just silence on the other end. It sounded like people were talking in the background, like a muffled conversation, but no one would respond to me. I hung up and canceled the ride. It was too weird. I looked closer at the map. The car was shown to be in the middle of a state forest preserve. No roads, no houses, nothing. Just trees. I got a major bad vibe and canceled again. I tried to book another ride, but the app just kept searching. And then the same driver accepted the request. The map said it was the closest car. I was already freaking out, but I felt trapped. I had to get it. I called the driver again, this time. A creepy, low voice answered. Hello, ma'am. It sounded wrong, but no other cars were showing up. So I gave him my location. He said, okay, ma'am, and hung up. I started waiting. The rain got heavier. It was so dark and isolated. I was shaking. I turned on my phone's flashlight. Suddenly, lightning flashed, lighting up everything for a second like it was daytime. In that split second, I saw something in my rearview mirror. It looked like someone was standing right behind my car. My blood ran cold. I spun around and shone my light. Nothing there. I looked back in the mirror and the figure was back. I squeezed my eyes shut and started praying under my breath. I was sweating and trembling. Then someone knocked on my window. I nearly jumped out of my skin. A guy was standing outside my car. I was so scared I couldn't even think. He knocked again. It was too dark to see him clearly. Terrified, I rolled the window down a crack. I heard his voice, ma'am, you order a ride. I'm here. It was the Uber driver. I was shocked. How did he get here so fast? I checked the time. It had only been 5 minutes since I called. His voice was still that same deep, creepy monotone. You okay, ma'am? He asked. I mumbled that I was fine, grabbed my purse from the back, and got out. I locked my car and followed him. He was huge, like 6'5". He was wearing a black hoodie with the hood up. Hiding his face, his walk was. Off we got to his car, an old, beat-up sedan. He unlocked it. and we got in. I sat in the back. He kept his face hidden. I tried to tell myself I was just spooked because of the rain and the situation. We started driving about 10 minutes in. I knew something was really wrong. He started making gestures and talking to himself. Then he started gesturing to the empty passenger seat next to him, like he was talking to someone sitting there. I stared. The seat was definitely empty. "Who are you talking to?" I asked, my voice shaking. He didn't answer. I asked again, louder, "Who is here?" He answered in that flat, creepy voice. "No one, ma'am. I'm not talking to anyone." "You're scaring me. This isn't funny. Stop the car," I yelled. "I'm not scaring you," he droned. "No one is here. Don't be afraid." "If no one's there, then who are you talking to? Stop the car now." He just kept driving. I thought maybe he had mental health issues. But then he got nervous and started making shushing motions towards the empty seat, like he was telling someone to be quiet because I was getting upset. This was next level terrifying. Finally, after I yelled again, he pulled over. He said, "Give me a minute." Then he turned to the passenger seat and said, "You get out. She's really mad now." I swear to you, the passenger door unlocked and opened all by itself. I felt a cold rush of air. It felt like someone got out and then slammed the door shut. I was frozen in pure terror. I started praying silently, just begging to get home. He started driving again a few minutes later. He began talking to someone at an imaginary toll booth, and I felt the back seat sink down next to me. There was something else in the car with us. I could feel it. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone. I tried to call my dad, but my phone was dead, even though it had been at 70% battery just minutes before. It had just shut off. Imagine sitting in a car, knowing something invisible is sitting right next to you. That was me. I was praying like I'd never prayed before. Then the car jerked to a stop in the middle of the highway. The door next to me unlocked and opened by itself, then slammed shut again. The driver got out and stood by the car, arguing with thin air, looking furious. After about 10 minutes, he got back in. He popped the trunk open and gestured for someone to get in. Then he got back in and drove off. The whole rest of the way, I heard banging and knocking coming from the trunk. 45 minutes later, the car finally stopped in front of my house. I bolted out before it even fully stopped and ran to my door, ringing the bell like a maniac. My brother answered. I screamed at him to shut the door. Everyone was awake and saw the state I was in. I was a mess, shaking, crying. A total wreck. I tried to explain what happened. My mom thought I'd just gotten scared being alone. I told them my phone died. My sister went to plug my phone in. "Chloe," she said, "your phone is on. It's got like half battery." I looked. It was true, but in the car it had been completely dead and off. I didn't understand. I thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't for the next week. I kept seeing him, the guy in the hoodie. I saw him in a grocery store. And when I went to look, he was gone. One night when I was home with my sister, the power went out. I saw him standing on our stairs. I screamed. My sister saw nothing. Another time, I saw him reflected behind me in the bathroom mirror. He was haunting me, not hurting me, just making sure I knew he was there. We finally went to the police. They found the car. The cops told us the owner of that vehicle and his wife had died in a car accident on that very highway a year ago. The car had been sitting in a junkyard ever since. I later talked to a pastor who knew about that stuff, and he suggested that the driver's wife had looked a lot like me. Maybe that's why he attached himself to me. I don't know. I got some help and I wear a protective symbol now. I'm better, but I'll never forget it. Thanks for letting me share. My name's Jake. I live in a small town in rural Oregon. My dad got sick and I dropped out of community college to help take care of him. When he passed, he left me his old pickup truck. And man, this thing was a junker. But I needed to make money, so I started using it to give folks rides. Business was bad. I'd wait by the main road out of town for hours. One night around midnight, I saw a guy hitchhiking with a backpack. He looked lost. I was so relieved. I pulled over and he got in. After a minute of silence, I asked, "Where you headed?" He started mumbling weird stuff. I thought he might be on something. Then he told me his story, said his parents had died. His uncle kicked him out of the house in Portland, and his wallet got stolen. I felt bad for the guy. I told him I'd give him a ride. He said he had a cousin's place in a logging town deep in the Willamette National Forest. I didn't have much gas, but I figured I had enough to get him there. I said, "All right, let's go." We drove out of town. The further we went, the darker and more deserted it got. The paved road turned to gravel, then to a dirt logging track. I asked him, "You sure about this?" "There's nothing out here." He got all embarrassed and said he must have taken a wrong turn. I was annoyed. I was low on gas, and now I was lost in the middle of the woods. We turned around. I was praying my truck wouldn't conk out. We ended up on this creepy, deserted forest road. The silence was deafening, and then my truck sputtered and died. We were out of gas, totally stranded. We got out. It was pitch black. I used my phone's flashlight. We were surrounded by dense pine trees. Then we heard it, a child crying. The sound was cutting through the silence. The guy with me freaked out. "Dude, I'm scared," he said, grabbing my arm. "Let's get out of here." But I wasn't gonna leave my truck. "We gotta see where that's coming from." I said, "Maybe someone can help us." The crying seemed to be coming from the trees. We started walking towards it, but the sound kept moving away, like it was leading us somewhere. We saw a faint light in the distance and headed for it, thinking it was a hunter's cabin. It wasn't a cabin, it was an old mine shaft, boarded up but with a hole big enough to crawl into. The crying was coming from inside. My passenger was terrified. "This is bad. Man, we shouldn't be here," but we went in. Inside, a little kid was lying on the ground. Crying, we shone our lights on him. And he suddenly stopped, just stared at us with these huge, unsettling eyes. We looked around, no one else was there. Why was a kid alone in a mine? Then my passenger pointed at the kid's feet. His eyes wide with terror, I looked. The kid's feet were on backwards. I noped out of there so fast. We both turned and ran like hell back to the truck. And here's the freakiest part. When we got back, the truck's headlights were on. We'd left it completely dead and dark. We didn't stick around to figure it out. We just ran down that road until we found a farm. The farmer let us stay the night. He told us those woods were known for weird stuff and that locals avoid them. The next morning, he drove me back to my truck with a gas can. The hitchhiker called his cousin and left. I drove home and never, ever went back down that road. I still get chills thinking about that kid with the backwards feet. I'm David. I've got a day job, but I used to drive a taxi part-time at night for extra cash. This was back in 2017. I live in a small town in Nebraska, and the last Amtrak train gets in around 1 a.m. I'd wait there because I could usually get a good fare from some stranded passenger. One night I was waiting in my cab. The station was always creepily empty at that hour. I must have dozed off because I woke up to the train whistle. I jumped out and went to the platform. A family got off one of the last cars, a mom, a dad, a son in his 20s, and a daughter. They had a few bags. But something was super off. They had a blanket completely draped over the daughter's head, and they were holding her arms, guiding her like she was a prisoner. She was walking funny. I went over, "Need a taxi." The dad named a tiny farm town almost 3 hours away. Deep in the panhandle, it was a great fare. I named my price, expecting them to haggle, but they just agreed immediately. They were all really tense and quiet. The son put the bags in the trunk while the parents guided the blanketed girl into the back seat. The son got in front with me. As we drove off, I tried to make small talk. Nothing, total silence. Then, from under the blanket, the girl started talking in this guttural, unnatural voice. It wasn't any language I'd ever heard. It sounded deep and wrong. My skin crawled. Her walk, the blanket, now this voice. I was getting major bad vibes. After a couple of hours on the state highway, the dad told me to turn off onto a dirt road that led into endless cornfields. "This isn't the way to the town you said," I told him. "Just drive," he said. "We'll pay extra. We have to make a stop." The road led to this abandoned, crumbling church in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by dead corn stalks. They told me to stop, wait here. The dad said, "And don't get out of the car." They all got out and led the girl toward the church. I was alone. My car was overheating. So against my better judgment, I got out to put some water in the radiator. As I'm doing this, I get this overwhelming feeling I'm not alone. I felt like someone was playing peekaboo with me, moving around the car. Then something slammed into the side of my car. Hard enough to rock it. I jumped back in and locked the doors. Then I started hearing noises from the church, thumping, crashing and screaming. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran to the church and peered in a broken window. What I saw, I'll never forget it. The girl was inside, but she was moving impossibly fast, scrambling across the walls and ceiling like a spider. Her family was trying to catch her. She let out this unearthly roar. Then she stopped dead, looked right at me through the window, and pointed. They all turned and saw me. The girl collapsed. The mom threw the blanket over her again, and they half carried her back to the taxi. They were all shaken. "What the hell was that?" I demanded. The dad looked pale. "She's possessed." He whispered, "A demon, just drive, please." The whole way to their town, the girl in the back seat would twitch and growl, turning her head like she was watching something chase us. I was convinced I was going to have a heart attack. I dropped them off at a lonely farmhouse and didn't dare drive back that night. I found the only motel in the next town over. I had a fever for 2 days afterward. I still have no idea who they really were, what that place was, or what was wrong with that girl. I just know I'll never forget it. Thanks for sharing your stories. Everyone, if you're still listening, it means you're liking these. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one. And don't forget to like the video, it really helps me out. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.